Shalom, y'all. This is Unplug 'em. Most High God, my tongue and my mind to be in line with your will. So, if you do music production today, you're a part of a fraternity that starts with a family line, a bloodline that goes all the way back to ancient times. Bloodlines are, by large, inspired to have this musical gift or this musical acumen, what they call being musically inclined. You find this gift bestowed upon bloodlines, and you find it time and time again. You find it in many famous groups. This brothers and that sisters, from Brothers Johnson to the Neville brothers, the Clark sisters, the Winans. You find this is a family thing, and that is because of the Jackson Five. You find this phenomenon because it goes back to the purpose for making music. The purpose for making music is to glorify the Most High. Now, because today you have so many digital and synthesized helpers that aid those who are not musically inclined and allow them to get into music production and music creation without having the necessary thing inside. Anybody can do it now. You can hop on Fruity Loops and make a beat and not know nothing about beats. A friend of mine has showed me that. A guy that's been rapping for a long time, good friend of mine. He had got a copy of Fruity Loops when it was first coming out. I remember my ex-girl and her little baby brother was on Fruity Loops making beats while I was still doing my ASR 10 thing, and Fruity Loops was brand spanking new. I mean, this might have been about 2000, eh, somewhere around 2000. And I remember, kind of feeling some type of way, like, wow, how can you cheat the game like this? And it is indeed a form of cheating the game. Sorry. But you have a lot of y'all out here who are able to jump in and, uh, sample something or, there's artistic sampling, but you don't find, I don't find so many artistic sampling beats as I used to hear, because now you can push a button and something will chop up a sample for you. We used to have to listen to the record. Oh, I'm sounding like an old man now. We used to have to listen to the record and actually find the part ourselves and chop it up ourselves manually. Well, things change and times change, and we should welcome that. And I do welcome it, uh, but still with somewhat of a suspicious eye, because I am seeing some things that I know are directly related to taking out the energy and taking out the original um, gifting of being musically inclined, and taking out the original energy, the original natural energy that you feel from stuff that was produced before the digital era. And now we're in the digital era, and there's no going back. When I started recording, we was doing analog still. We were still recording on the Ampex reel, and the sound was warmer, and the bass felt different. I'm old enough to remember when CDs first started coming up, and I was coming out of Def Sound Studio, and somebody was taking me to the crib, and it was some money making buddy. I don't even remember who it was at the time, but they were ahead of time, and they had a CD system, and it was not usual for people to have a CD system in their ride at this time. So they show you about how long ago this was. And I came out the studio, I hopped in his ride, and he was playing, I believe it was Compton's Most Wanted. And the way that the bass felt in my chest, it felt funny, as opposed to the many other times I'd hopped in and out of rides and was in my own ride playing uh, my tapes, and the feel of the bass from off of tapes was different. And I remember Jerry Flynn and different guys, different studio rats and engineers and studio owners like Flynn talking about the changes, and kind of complaining. And I felt as a young guy, well, these old guys are complaining because they can't cut the mustard as things change. But now, as uh, I guess getting into eldership. Now I do have a better understanding of what they were complaining about, or at least a part of their complaint that was valid. And that part was, yes, they're making it easier for everybody, but it's kind of Walmarting the game. Whereas opposed to you had your specialized stores that sold nuts and bolts, and then this store over here sells stationery, and then this store over here sells toiletries. Well, now you have one place where you can get it all, and that's kind of what you're seeing with the digital era, and it's enhancing the game in some levels, but then with enrichment, like with enriching flour and enriching sugar and enriching rice, something is also stripped away. And what's being stripped away when you mass produce music the way it's being mass produced today is the ability to control the energy and to produce and put out the energy that you wish to produce and put out, because you're not in control of the energy as much as you were before. You have standards set on your digital devices. Uh, yes, when you was actually chopping up a loop, you actually had to go in between the bars and find the pieces and whatnot. No two beats could ever be the same. Now it's quite possible that you and I can have beats the same because digital settings or set parameters, when they're set by a machine, are only able to produce what is set, what's what's set, what they have set it at, and you can't get in between those increments the way that we could, and really come up with some creative stuff that could not be duplicated. Now everything is more easily duplicatable, and I maintain that that is because the powers that be wanted to take the power of shaping music and shaping the way people feel via music. They wanted to take that power from those who have it in their bloodline to do it, because they have found in their experience that bloodline individuals like myself, DJ Dez, DJ Los, uh, we are harder to control. We have more of an adamant attitude about doing things our way. We are more likely to rebel once placed in a position of authority in the business. And they have figured out now how to, you start by getting the peon that you can pay to do what you want done and basically be a slave. And then secondly, you can replace the peon. After the peon stage, then you can go to the robot stage, and you can replace the peon once you've figured out the parameters and the formula. Once everything has been formulated, I used to say that leave it to the European to come up with a way to put a formula to everything. And once you can put a formula to everything, to anything, then you can computerize it and robotize it. Well, it's bigger than the European. It's a fallen angel thing. And it starts with technology and its origin in the first place, technology. The fallen ones who came and brought technology down to us. And so we have this digitizing of music, the synthesizing of music, which is really a way to strip away from it the natural energies, the divine energies that are put into that divine bloodline, into those family lines that are bestowed by the will of the Creator to have musical genius or musical gifting. Okay? And yes, I understand the etymology of genius. I showed and proved it, didn't I? But again, we're not going to play semantics. You understand, to get a conversation through and to keep me from being so long-winded here, we got to use this language. So you look at some of the things that you find going on today. The synthesizer, we talked about that. Well, the equalizer too. Nowadays, you don't have to do so much EQing because everything is standard set. Well, the way Marvin wanted his album mixed and the way Barry White wanted his album mixed was two different ways. And so when you pop on the album, when you put the When you put the wax on the turntable, you will find two distinctly different sounds that require different equalizing. Though they were both mastered, the standards of mastering hadn't been established to where they are today. Today, everything, it's a certain amount of hertz that everybody's song is supposed to be, a decibel level that everybody's supposed to reach. Everybody's bass is supposed to be within this and that. And it takes out the creativity from the EQing part of the game. One thing I messed up on my old music, Midnight Man, and the other three card Molly stuff was I tried to get creative in my EQing and mixing, and it was at the end of that era, and the digital era was coming in, and so people were beginning to get used to a standard sound. Dr. Dre was beginning to establish this standard sound from the Chronic, that everyone was beginning to copy and emulate. So creativity was shut out of the area of mixing because everyone had to have their stuff mixed to like Red Book standard. So now you got everybody using some of the same programs basically: Fruity Loops, Reasons, Pro Tools, Cubase. That's the issue with digital. DigitAL. Okay, we did our spelling thing before. Maybe we can just take a look at a little something because do I have my Sharpie? Hold on, let me grab my Sharpie. All right. So we'll look at digital and then keep it moving. I promise you this is going to be the last one for music for a while, y'all. DigitAL. Ooh, it's dark. Can y'all see that? DigitAL. Well, we talked a little bit about all, which is where you get L. Some of us may go to church at a temple or church called Bethel, which means house of the Lord. So when you get Michael, you meaning one who is like the Lord or one who is of the Lord. Gabriel, the L part is of the Lord. EL and AL is the same thing. Actually, the AL is older. So when you see digit all, it's the same all that you use in Allah. And this part is of God or of the Lord. Same as Bethel. This part is of God or of the Lord. So your music is now numbers of God or numbers of the Lord. And it's really that you're now making the numbers your Lord, because now everything is done by the numbers. The metronome was bad enough. A lot of the live musicians that would come in and play with us and for us on our stuff, on the three card Molly stuff, a lot of those brothers would complain about the metronome and the fact that we couldn't keep a beat without a metronome. And really, that's kind of a sad thing if you really think about it. So the guys older than us could criticize us for how far we were allowing ourselves to be digitized. And it's only going to continue until there are robot producers and they don't need you guys anymore. So I implore you to add more improvisation into your music. One thing that Dilla would do is the offset drums, where the syncopation of drums, syncopation, you'll find in your Parliament albums, especially in your later Parliament albums, they began to notice this trick with syncopation and with the new sync that was going on with the drum machine and the synthesizer, the syndrome. Okay, that's what he was talking about, the Lindrum and syndrome. But you will find that there was a rebellion going on at that time among musicians who were starting to see, hey, this is taking something away from the natural feel of the music. And the further we get into digitization, the further we get away from the natural feel of music, and the easier we make it for those with malevolent agendas to be able to slip into the music uh, certain messages and subliminals that can never be caught. You think it was something when it was backward masking. Well, now things are digital, and there's no way for you to know or perceive consciously what's going on inside of the music if there's anything fishy going on. With digital, which first of all does not feel the same. Like I said, when I got into the ride and I felt the CMW in my chest. Now I'm a very musically sensitive dude and not the dullest knife in the drawer. And so I was feeling something very different. Having worked at studios since I was 19 years old, um, really since I was 16, but steadily working since I was 19. By this time, I must have been in my early 20s, and I just knew I felt this difference. And yeah, CDs had been out for some time, but they hadn't taken over. This was the beginning of the takeover of CDs. When I first felt this, and I felt in my chest this difference in the feeling, and the feeling was much more tinny and synthetic. The bass from a CD is more tinny and synthetic, and they've improved on it in these latter years, but it's still nothing like the warmth you get from a record. And any DJ that's listening knows that that's no sugar honey iced tea right there. But uh, and so the synthesizers and the equalizers, the mixing boards, they're all tuned to this digital frequency, which I maintain is all based off of the tritone. Another thing that Dilla did, he was aware of these things by being a member of a music secret society, a secret order called the Order of Divine Reality. He was, Proof was, and Baten of Slum Village was, and they were all wise and learned brothers from the conscious community, and well versed in the basics, at least, of metaphysics, and also knowledgeable of the Kabbalah and Kabbalistic magic. So they understood certain things about vibration. And these brothers were not ill intended brothers. And so you find in the genius of Dilla his attempts to break through that robotism, to break past that digitism, that digitalization, and get in get back into the natural groove of things. And I maintain it's one of the things he uh, complimented and commented on about the three card Molly, which I found myself putting together in an effort to try to create this 70s sound, this natural music sound that I was first getting exposed to as I was getting deeper and deeper into smoking marijuana. In all reality, that's where the wine and weed song came from. That I know is based off the Devil's Chord that I didn't even know anything about. But that just goes to show you. But yeah, in my haze, listening to Marvin Gaye in some good headphones, listening to the record. Uh, we were still listening to records at that time, looking for samples, and just listening to the record and blazing and feeling this energy that I could not feel listening to my rap music. I wanted to recreate that energy. And I realized, well, hey, we're sampling from the 70s to recreate this energy. We're trying to loop the energy over and over and over again. We're taking the baddest part of the real instrument playing that we can find, and we are looping it, quote unquote, playing it end to end over and over and over again. That one piece, that 4 bar segment, or 8 bar or 2 bar, however you was looping. So you look at the mixing board even. And to turn the sound back and forth in the mixing board to make it go from right speaker to left speaker is called panning. Pan. Just like the little deity that kind of puts you in mind of Prince. No, Prince is cool. Prince is cool because I believe he woke up to some things, but still dubious concerning others. But Pan. Oops. Pan. You know about Pan. Pan was the man. Pan is who you get your Pied Piper reference from, that R. Kelly alludes to in his wickedness. Um, he, makes the allusion to being like a piper, and that's nothing but saying that he wanted to be like Pan, which is nothing but another allegorical disguise for the devil. Lucifer, as a musician, leading and enchanting you by way of things you find in the woods, natural elements, metal, wood, the things that you create instruments out of. And Pan being some sort of extra dimensional being, like the fallen ones who brought us instruments in the first place. And they brought these instruments to the ones who were given of God natural abilities, given by the Most High natural abilities to use sound to worship and to praise and to lead mankind toward positive endeavors, to uplift the creation, to uplift the vibration of living things around it. This was and is, I maintain, the true use of music. If you're uplifting the vibration of the creative world around you, all creation, all of the Most High's creation, then you are in line with what music was meant for. If you are using music that is destructive to creation, destructive to the eardrums or the mentalities of those around you, like a lot of MCs are, and some producers who don't understand the things that you loop contain energy, and don't understand the energy and don't want to understand the energy. You say that in the God of the Vita, in the God of the Vita, baby, that's a heartbeat. What Nas sampled for, I think he called it Thief's Thing. But, we think a beat is hard because it sounds evil or dark. And the evil dark chord is what the devil's chord is basically made out of. If you look up devil's chord, you'll find a lot of information and some demonstrations here on YouTube. And you'll find the hardest rock beats, the hardest classic rock riffs are those that contain the devil's chord. You'll even find this in the Guitar Hero. The end of Guitar Hero, if you make it all the way to the end, is my baby sister, who is a master musician herself, demonstrated to me when we was just chilling and she was playing Guitar Hero and I was watching. She went all the way to the end, and at the end, you sell your soul to the devil and get a recording contract in the end of Guitar Hero. So again, it all is connecting. Now you can compose or decompose. You make music, it's called composing music. Well, which is something you must do with your body, and a dead body, death is decomposed. So the power of music has to do with life and death, vibration, energy. Okay, there are secret orders for musicians because of this. The most prestigious is Phi Mu Alpha Sinfonia, but there's a co-ed one, a companion, Mu Phi Epsilon. Okay, now there was an Asian um, scientist. I don't know how official he was as a scientist, so that's something that academia is supposed to approve. I don't know how approved he was of academia, but Masaru Emoto, Dr. Emoto is what they'll usually list him under. Emoto. How ironic. Emoto, like emotion, energy in motion. so you got to watch out for those things. But anyway, Dr. Emoto supposedly did these experiments with water where he flash froze water through some process after writing on it positive and negative messages, and after playing positive and negative music. There's positive music and negative music. The energy, the notes that you produce create a feeling, and it's positive or negative. Look at a horror movie. You can take a scene from a horror movie where there's no slaying or nothing gruesome going on, say a woman walking through the woods, and imagine that scene with no music. Then imagine that scene with happy music. Then take that same scene and put dark music over it, like you find in Jaws. That's dark music. Music creates a mood. And there was Some of y'all may recognize from that example. I borrowed that from something that was on Discovery Channel or one of them channels where they actually did that. They actually took a scene, a real mundane, everyday scene, a girl jogging through the woods, an old man walking through his garden, and they tried it. They showed you the scene first with no music, then they showed you the scene with happy music, then they showed you the scene with menacing music, and there's such a thing as menacing music. All right. Now, and Psychology Today talks about that. There was an article, you can look it up, Psychology Today, Black Sabbath and the Secret of Scary Music. Now, their guitarist denies making conscious use of the devil's interval. The Pythagorean comma, I believe, is also called an interval, and the comma is a similar thing. I'm sure I'll be corrected if that's wrong, but we know it's also called the augmented fourth, or the chord of evil, or the devil's chord, or the tritone. And Black Sabbath is one of the most notorious bands for using that. And most notable is their song After Forever. Now, I went to try to look up that song, and ironically, the laptop crashed as it came up. I didn't even get to hear one note. And I don't need to hear one note, I believe it. But I thought that was ironic and somewhat ill. Also, you can go to http://www.dailymail.com.uk, .co.uk, and there's an article. Just type in the article name, bump all that. The incredible water sculptures created sound. How bassy sine waves make corkscrew stream appear stand still. Now, there's so many experiments that have been done on vibration in water. You have to remember your body's full of water, so music affects water, then music affects the body, which is full of water. There's many experiments that show you how music is affected by, how water is affected by music. So your entire being, your entire inner being is affected by the music that you listen to. And when you sit in a car and confine yourself, like you closing in smoke or closing in heat, which will kill a baby if you do that. But in an enclosed area, you bumping this music, playing it extra loud, and spiritually frying your insides. And in some cases, actually doing damage to your insides physically, because of the malevolence in the music, because there are people who understand its supernatural properties and know how to manipulate those supernatural properties against you because you do not know. And our people perish for lack of knowledge. So you must know that it's more than just sound. It's more than just a thing. Music ain't just a thing. Some of y'all know about my documentary, Spirits in the Machine, of the Illuminati and old school music. Well, YouTube censored my documentary because of some complaints from different copyright owners that I put them on blast and played the songs and talked about the songs. And it showed and proved how Lucifer was in the smoothest of songs and in songs you didn't expect. And all throughout the music industry, I even make the case for how it is his industry. Music is not his, but the industry is. Well, Demon Music, a division of the BBC, the British Broadcasting Company, Demon Music owned the rights to Come Into My Life by Joyce Sims, and they were one of the ones that made a complaint against me and caused y'all to be unable to hear that documentary that the Most High gave me to give those of you who are interested in that, as was I. So you have Nikola Tesla, contemporary of Einstein, many say much deeper than Einstein could ever be, who created a death ray by way of vibration. He was able to shake a skyscraper using his vibration machine. He was able to create weaponry that they say we base our harp off of Nikola Tesla's inventions. And harp is definitely a weapon that uses sound and frequency. Now, last but not least, you don't have to know anything about the songwriter's secret, or you don't have to have an official blood sacrifice to end up with one anyway. Once you enter this business, once you enter the game, you got to play by the rules. It happened to me. We lost 2 members of my group. The girl who sang the hook on Midnight Man is gone. Our partner, me and D Point, it was 3 of us, 3 Carb Molly. He ended up getting put into a mental institution. And this is because this is not a game. It's deeper than rap. I love y'all. Shalom.